Have you ever noticed something strange in your life? Different people, different environments, different relationships. Yet somehow, the disappointments you experience always feel similar. At some point, you make a promise to yourself. I will never let anyone hurt me like this again. You tell yourself you will be more careful. You tell yourself you will be stronger. But time passes, and suddenly, you find yourself inside a similar story again. A different person, a different situation, but the feeling is familiar. The same disappointment, the same heartbreak. And that familiar question appears in your mind again. Why does this always happen to me? Most people think this is simply bad luck. Carl Jung believed something very different. According to him, the reason people repeat the same pain again and again is not the outside world. Very often, the reason lies in the human mind itself. And Jung shared an uncomfortable truth. People will do almost anything to avoid facing their own soul, even the most irrational things. Pause for a moment and think about that. A relationship hurt you. You promised yourself you would never make the same mistake again. But months later, a new person enters your life. The face is different. The story is different. But the ending somehow feels familiar again. This does not mean you are weak, and it does not mean the world is against you. Most of the time, the reason is much deeper. There is something inside you that has not yet been understood. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Most people live their lives on emotional autopilot. Something happens, we react. Someone says something, we become defensive. Something disturbs us, we walk away from it. But we rarely stop and ask the deeper question, why did this affect me so much? Why did this moment create such a strong reaction inside me? According to Jung, the moments that disturb us the most are actually mirrors. Mirrors that reveal parts of ourselves we have not yet accepted. And this is where the first important realization begins. Most of the time, pain does not come from the outside. It comes from within. Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Because when a person truly looks at their own mind, they begin to notice things they usually avoid. Old wounds, old fears, stories they have carried inside for years without realizing it. For example, someone criticizes you in front of others. You might feel deeply hurt. But ask yourself this question. Is the real issue what that person said? Or is it that a part of you fears that what they said might be true? Think about a relationship. When your partner begins to emotionally distance themselves, you may feel rejected. But very often, the reaction is not only about that moment. Maybe it reawakens a belief you have carried for years. The feeling of, "I'm not enough." According to Jung, unresolved emotions from the past never truly disappear. They simply wait. And they return in different forms until we finally recognize them. That is why two people can experience the exact same situation, yet react in completely different ways. One person collapses emotionally. The other simply moves forward. The difference is not the event. The difference is the story living inside their mind. And that brings us to the second important realization. Most of the time, the part that feels hurt is not you. It is your ego. The ego constantly seeks approval, recognition, attention. It wants to feel important. So when someone ignores your message, when you are not invited somewhere, or when something you did is not acknowledged, the ego immediately interprets this as rejection. But pause and ask yourself, did your real value actually change? Or was it simply your ego that felt threatened? According to Jung, psychological maturity is not about strengthening the ego. It is about understanding it. Because the ego is not the entire mind. It is only one part of it. The third important idea is projection. Sometimes the traits that disturb us the most in others actually reveal something about our own inner world. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." People often project the things they cannot face within themselves onto others. Their insecurities, their fears, their suppressed sides. For example, someone might call you arrogant, but perhaps you are simply confident, and that confidence triggers their own insecurity. When you truly understand this, something powerful changes. You realize that you do not have to carry everyone else's emotional weight. You begin to see that not every criticism is truly about you. Sometimes it is simply another person struggling with themselves. The fourth realization is conscious detachment. Detachment does not mean becoming emotionless. It does not mean removing people from your life entirely. The real point is learning not to react automatically to every emotional trigger. Someone says something that upsets you. In the past, you might have reacted immediately. But now, you pause. You observe what is happening inside you. You think before you respond. And that is where real strength begins. In that small moment of pause. And finally, the fifth point. Much of the pain people experience in life comes from resistance. When pain appears, most of us try to escape it. We distract ourselves. We suppress it. But according to Jung, nothing truly changes until it is accepted. Suppressed pain does not disappear. It simply continues growing in the unconscious. But when you finally face it, when you truly see it, and when you allow yourself to accept it, something begins to change. Because healing does not come from escaping your inner world. It comes from integrating it. And eventually, you begin to notice something. The world has not changed. People have not changed. The same people are still doing the same things. But one thing has changed. You no longer react the same way. You begin to see that the burdens people carry are not yours. And when you start understanding your own mind, the behavior of others no longer shakes you the way it once did. Because your life is no longer controlled by their words. It is guided by your own awareness. And that is where real freedom begins. Not when you control other people, but when you understand yourself. And this is a journey most people never dare to take. But when you take that journey, you begin to realize something. Life is not against you. Life is simply introducing you to yourself. And this is Luminox theory.